Hallo Leute, herzlich willkommen in unserer Daddy das Deutsche Unterricht. Ich heiße Deblina und Ihre Deutschlehrerin. Heute studieren wir die Verben. But before we begin, I would request you guys that if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, then please do subscribe and also hit the bell icon there so that you get notified each time something new is uploaded. So, let's begin.
So now, die Verben. What are die Verben? Verben means verbs in English. These Verben are of three types: regular Verben, irregular Verben, and modal Verben. Regular Verben are those that follow a particular rule at the time of their conjugation. In order to remember that, I would request you to remember this line. I request you to write it 10 times. You might be asking, what is this? This line, if you see, this is E-S-T, T-E-N, T-E-N. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 pattern. Like one word E, 1, S-T, 2, T, 1, E-N, 2, T, 1, E-N, 2. Why you have to remember this pattern or why you have to remember this endings? This is because if you remember these endings, it will be easier for you to conjugate the verbs by yourself instead of mugging up those. Okay, please avoid the sound in the background. It's just the sounds of the vehicles. Okay, now see, this is E, S, T, T, E, N, T, E, N. Regular verbs are very easy to conjugate if you remember this pattern. I request you to write it 10 times. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So what are the regular verbs? For example, rennen, that means to run; schwimmen, that means to swim; gehen, to means to go; besuchen, it means to visit, und so weiter. Then comes irregular verbs. In irregular verbs, there are no such rules for conjugation that we have in regular verbs. This thing you need to remember. But yes, there are some rules like what does E change to, what does I change to, but that we'll talk about later, but in details. The thing is that you have to remember the irregular verbs and their conjugation. Then comes the modal verbs. Modal verbs are the kind of helping verbs.
Now let's see each of the topic in details with their examples.
Now here comes the examples of the few regular verbs. I have taken the example of the few verbs that we use in almost every sentence in our daily lives. So I've taken those in examples like machen, that means to make; kommen, that means to come; spielen means to play; gehen means to go; and trinken means to drink. So as I have said that the regular verb conjugation is very easy. Just you have to remember the endings, that is E, S, T, T, E, N, T, E, N. See, here, for example, in case of machen, machen is the actual verb. I mean, the main verb, the infinitive form. But when it comes with ish, it gets conjugated as mache. See, the ending is E, mache. With do, it's marks, M-A-C-H, S-T. With A, Z and S, it comes marked. Wir machen, ihr macht. With small z and capital Z, it's both. In case of both, it's machen. Similarly with kommen, it's komme, kommst, kommt, kommen, kommt, kommen. Spielen is ich spiele, du spielt, es ist spielt, wir spielen, ihr spielt, sie spielen. With gehen, it's ich gehe, du gehst, es geht, wir gehen, ihr geht, sie gehen. With trinken, it's ich trinke, du trinkst, es trinkt, wir trinken, ihr trinkt, sie trinken. So, hope this is clear. This rule is similar for all other regular verbs. This rule goes for the same. I mean, you just have to remember the endings. Here comes a few examples of irregular verbs. When I'll read out all these irregular verbs, you will find that these verbs do not follow any particular rule. For example, unlike the regular verbs, these are completely different. In case of irregular verbs, I have taken the examples of these few verbs. Firstly, I have taken sein and then is haben. Sein and haben are very, very, very important. You know why? Because you need sein and haben at the time of Partizip 2. That's why sein and haben are very important to know, and otherwise all the other verbs are also important. See, sein means to be. It's a kind to be verb. Be verb. Then it's haben. Haben means to have. Essen means to eat. Lesen means to read. Fahren means to travel. Now, ich bin, du bist, sie ist, wir sind, ihr seid, sie sind. Ich habe, du hast, sie hat, wir haben, ihr habt, sie haben. Ich esse, du isst. See, this is and this is are different. Often I've seen people, mistakenly using ist while they're trying to write essen. No, it's ist and it's ISST. Then comes sie ist, wir essen, ihr esst, sie essen. Then comes lesen. Ich lese, du liest, sie liest, wir lesen, ihr lest, sie lesen. Ich fahre, du fährst. Why it's fährst? I think you can see the umlauts. It's fährst. Sie fährt, wir fahren, ihr fährt, sie fahren. I would request you people to pause the video and note this down before I turn on the pages. Then comes our modal verbs. Modal verbs are 6 in number in German. So let's see what are these. It's können, to be able to. Können means to be able to. Then come möchten. This means would like to. Like I would like to do this. If you want to say such a sentence, you have to use the word möchten. Then comes müssen. Müssen means must. Sollen. Sollen means should. Then wollen. Wollen means to want. Please note that wollen that we are using here as to want is not similar with that use in English. Like when we use I will do this, it does not mean the similar will we are using in German. This wollen is completely different from the will that we use in English. Please note this down, because I've seen many people doing the same mistake. Even while I was a beginner, I used to do the same mistake too. Then comes dürfen. Dürfen means to be allowed to. Like if you are asking for a permission or giving a permission, you are to use this word dürfen. So let's see the conjugation. Conjugation is of können. Ich kann, du kannst, sie kann, wir können, ihr könnt, sie können. Then is müssen. Ich möchte, du möchtest, sie möchte, wir möchten, ihr möchtet, sie möchten. Then is müssen, please excuse my pronunciation for this. Is muss, du musst, sie muss, wir müssen, ihr müsst, sie müssen. Then is sollen. Ich soll, du sollst, sie soll, wir sollen, ihr sollt, sie sollen. Then is wollen. Ich will, du willst, sie will, wir wollen, ihr wollt, sie wollen. Then comes your dürfen. It's ich darf, du darfst, sie darf, wir dürfen. See, umlauts are here. Ihr dürft, sie dürfen. Okay? Please make a note that all the verbs that I have discussed today, though it's a regular verb, irregular verb, or modal verbs, all these I have discussed today are in present tense. These all will change when we will be talking about past tense, and that I'll discuss in my next video. Now let's see another type of verb. Next comes the trennbar verb. What are trennbar verbs? Trennbar verbs are nothing but these are actually maybe irregular verbs or regular verbs, but with a special type. For example, see the word einladen. This means to invite. Einladen. This word ein and this word laden. This is actually a single word. Einladen is completely a single word, but when you are using it in a sentence, then this ein gets separated from the word laden, and this ein separately sits at the end of the sentence. These are called trennbar verbs. There are many more trennbar verbs which may get conjugated in regular or irregular way. The conjugation of the second part only happens. Like here, the laden gets only conjugated, not the ein part. This ein part sits in the end. For example, see, ich lade. Now you write the rest of the sentence. Then ein comes in the end. Du lädst. Here are umlauts are present. Then ein at the last. Es ist lädt ein. Wir laden. Ihr lädt. Sie laden. Okay, there are many more words like this. So the conjugation happens like this. Now see some example of the usage of verbs. For example, if I want to say I go to school. In my previous video I have told you that when you are using a sentence, the structure of the sentence, the verb sits in the second position. That is after the subject. So here I go to school, I is the subject, then you have to use the verb, that is ich gehe zur Schule. See, I have used all the examples with I. When you are using any other person, that means any other subject, the verb will conjugate accordingly. But as I am using the I, so our verb see, gehen, changes to gehe. Ich gehe zur Schule. Now, if we say I can do it, see here I am using a modal verb. That's why it's I can do it changes to ich kann es machen. Please note that when you are using two verbs in a sentence, the first one gets conjugated and sits in the second position, that is after the subject, and the second one or the number of verbs that are using, only the first one gets conjugated and the rest of the verbs sit in the end of the sentence without getting any kind of conjugation. For example, see, here as I've said ich kann comes from können, that's why it gets conjugated. But when I'm using machen sits in the end of the sentence without getting conjugated. Now as I have told you guys that in case of trennbar verbs, the word breaks and the second part sits in the front and the first part goes to the end. Also, often it happens that the trennbar verbs does not break and sits in the way it is, like that is in the unconjugated way. So this is when you are using the word in the end of the sentence. For example, in sentence 3, see, I would like to register myself. Ich möchte, see as I've used I would like to, that's why ich möchte mich anmelden. See, anmelden is also a trennbar verb, but here anmelden is used together and as it sits in the end of the sentence. Ich möchte mich anmelden. But again, when I'm using the anmelden in the second position, it changes. I register myself. Ich melde mich an. See, here it breaks. Anmelde. But here it does not. Do you know why? Just because another verb is taking the second position. Okay. And also you might have a question why this mich is here. This is because there are some verbs that takes the word sich with it, like that is sich anmelden. That's why I have used mich with it. Okay, so I have opened a WhatsApp group, and I'm providing the link of that group in the description box. If you want to join that, you can join it so that we can discuss more about the German topics. And also, if you want to get the list of the regular, irregular or the Trenvar verbs along with their conjugation, and also if you want the verbs that takes sich and a particular preposition and with it, then you can DM me for the notes. So let's see in the next video. Till then, bye.